Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on Sam's Crafted Castle. And this week's video is not like the most overly technique-y, complicated card. This one's pretty easy, but I was getting ready, so I kind of like batch through my birthday cards basically. And well, any cards really that I need to mail out. Birthday cards, anniversary cards, holiday cards, all that kind of stuff. So at the end of March, I was getting all of my April birthday cards together and realized that my birthday stash was once again getting awful low. So we're going to go back to birthday cards for a while. So I already had this video kind of planned, and I was going to use one of the big giant greetings from Lawn Fawn, the sending big hugs one. And I needed a birthday card. So I was like, okay, how can I mix this up a little bit? And I basically just decided to make it say sending big birthday hugs, and we'll get to that a little bit later, and how I made that happen. But just another way to sort of change up your greetings to fit the occasions. Like, you could totally put like sending big Easter hugs, or Easter is the week this is going up. That's what I'm thinking about that. And so, or, sending big holiday hugs or whatever. You could totally change it up that way if you have the right die set to do it. So first I have this stamp from the Lawn Fawn Happy, I think it's called Happy Hugs. Now I'm blanking on the name. Stamp set. I don't actually have the die set for this one, so I stamped it and cut it out with my scanning cut off camera. I have to get the die set eventually, but for right now, my scanning cut will do it. I have a scanning cut, obviously, I just said that, but I don't necessarily use it as much as I used to. I haven't used it to avoid buying dies, I guess we'll put it that way, in recent history. I used to, but sometimes the scanning cuts can cut a little bit funky. Sometimes I'm just lazy and don't want to set it up, and it's easier to grab my intercut than it is to grab my scanning cut. There's also like certain specific techniques and stuff you can do. So I don't feel like my scanning cut replaced dies for me for a long time. But as I got more into different techniques and stuff, and moving spaces and all that kind of stuff, it really didn't fully replace them for me, but definitely it can help, if that's something you're looking for. And I mean, given the current state of the industry and what's going on with dyes and stuff, I may be very grateful that I have that here soon, but for right now, like I said, it hasn't replaced dyes at all for me, but it is very handy to have in this case when all of a sudden I realized that I apparently never bought a die set for a stamp set. It does do very, very well with Lawn Fawn images, though. I have a couple other stamp sets, too, that just never had die sets, just because they're old enough that wasn't a thing. So it's handy for that, too, and there's a lot of different things. But I cut that out on my scanning cut. I got distracted. I do use the other big thing I use my scanning cut for is when I have a lot of images that I need to die cut. So, like, I have a video that I started and never finished. I will finish it eventually. I have two, actually, that I started and never finished. Now, one stamp set does not have a coordinating die set, so I couldn't cut that out with the dies if I wanted to. And the other one has a coordinating die set, but I need to cut out several images for it, so like I can use my scanning cut and stick that down, and it'll just cut them all out for me in one go, and I don't have to worry about like multiple passes through die cut machine, basically, depending on how close I stamp things together. So excuse me, my allergies are really bad today, so I'm gonna apologize right now if I cough a little bit. I did just take my medicine, but I just took my allergy medicine, which means it is not kicked in yet, and I'm trying to film this before I go to work. So, I record this. I already filmed it. I just have to record the voiceover, which I'm trying to fit in before I leave for work today. So at first, I wasn't going to actually turn this into a birthday card. It was just going to be a generic, like, sending big Hugs card, which is something that I use all the time, like Hugs readings like that. I don't necessarily leave them for like thinking of you occasions, if you will. I use them for everything. But then I realized I needed a birthday card, so I quickly decided that I would add little birthday hats to my little critters because I thought that would be cute. I ended up only using one because it just looks better with the way things are laid out in the card in the end. But yeah, we're just taking this very generic thing and we're turning it into a birthday card. So I think I already missed it, but when I cut out the sending, oh, there it is. And I cut out the sending big hugs greeting. I kept kind of the middle portion of it just to help with essentially the technique we're going to do today, which is just me. Oh, this is me trying to get the die out. I was trying to do it. If you guys don't know this, you can sometimes drop dies onto your desk and the die cut will fall out. That didn't work for me that time, so I ended up getting my pick and stick tool. I was just too lazy to turn around and grab it, honestly. Okay, here we go. Sending big hugs. So I kept that middle chunk so that I could put the eye back in, or the tittle on the eye back in, because it was going to make this part easier. And I totally didn't even notice, this is my funny story, I totally didn't even notice that the eye for sending is missing, which when I said, oh, there it is, not that long ago, was me realizing that it was in fact on my intercut thing the whole time. I just didn't see it. I forgot there was an eye in sending too, so I did not keep the one that should have gone for that, and you'll see me die cut a new one in a minute because I didn't see the one that was still sitting on the intercut plate. So I am just inking up a background stamp. So like a lot of times with these big greeting dies, I'll cut them in pattern paper or something along those lines, just to make them a little more interesting. This time I felt like using one of my background stamps, and originally I was actually going to use two. I thought I was going to be able to do this diagonal stripe and stamp over it with one other one, and I thought it would be a really cool effect. But after I did this one, looking at it, I was like, that's already pretty busy, and I think that I was going to add the snowfall from Gina K on top, and I thought that would be a little bit too much. So we just left it with the purple and white. So then I kind of, because I was going to add some blue into my card color scheme, because I was just feeling purple and blue vibes that day. So I ended up adding that later on in my pattern paper choice that I'll make in a moment here. But the other thing too is I used an ink cube for this, for inking that stamp. Not necessarily my most recommended thing when it comes to background stamps. If you have an ink pad, use the ink pad. I'm still building up my ink pad collection, so I have a lot of the neutrals right now in ink pads, but not many of the colors. So I didn't really have that going for me. But in a minute, you're gonna see me realize that I have to die cut that again because I can't find the top of the sending eye, and I'm gonna show you what I do to get that to match the pattern. Also, the other thing too that I did that's kind of weird is normally when I use a background stamp, I'm not going to put it in my MISTI. I'm just going to put it flat, and I'm going to just take my paper to the stamp instead of the other way. But because I was doing this sort of greeting thing and cutting a pre-cut piece, this is what I would normally do with a background stamp too. So I'm just going to take that little eye and just ink up my stamp a little bit, and that's normally how I'd use a background stamp, but I attached it up to my MISTI to do this big part because it was just going to be easier, honestly, than trying to worry about bending it or ripping it or anything like that, doing it the other way. So now I have my happy birthday to you, which is just a very big scripty greeting, but I'm not going to use that whole thing. I'm going to cut it down and just leave the birthday. This is the other thing I would change on this card if I were to go back and do it all over again. Honestly, why did I not change it when I did this? But I didn't, and I should have, but it's fine. It's okay. The person, this is going to a kid in June. Maybe, not, I don't know. I haven't decided. I have 2 kids' birthdays coming up. One's in May, one's in June, and I haven't decided who's getting what. But, or who's getting this, of those 2, who's getting this card. I think the May baby's going to get this one, and he's only 1, so he can't read anyway. So I think I can get away with this being a little tricky to read, just because he's 1 and he can't read yet. His sister can, so maybe she'll be a little upset by it, but he can't, so it's fine. So now I'm just going to put in a bunch of, okay, I didn't actually tell you what I was going to change. What I would change is I would not do the birthday in black. I would do it in white or a different color. I don't know what other color I would use, but because I ended up going with such a dark background, which wasn't my original intention, I thought I was going to have a lot lighter of a background. I ended up just, like, you kind of lose the birthday because it's so dark. So if I would have gone on the light background, because you could kind of see it when I had it just on the blue raspberry piece before I, like, picked out all my pattern papers and stuff, the black looked fine, but because I went with darker background, it kind of gets lost. So if I could do it all over again, if I were to do it all over again, I would change that color into something that wasn't so dark. Or I would have picked different background colors that were lighter, like I kind of originally intended. So this is my other little tip. These giant greetings from Lawn Fawn work really, 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 really well with most foam strips. So, like, if you have, like, the sticker strips from Gina, or I don't know, lots of places have them now, but they have, like, the little foam strips, not like the foam tape, but just like the strips. These work really, really well with those work really, really well with these giant greetings from Lawn Fawn. They, like, fit really nice. I didn't have any, at least that I could find. There's a good chance I have some, but like I said, my adhesive drawer, still a disaster, and I can't find anything in it. So these were just the first foam squares I found in there. And you can see I had to cut them in half a little bit, which you can totally do with your foam squares, is cut them in half and make them a little bit thinner, smaller, whatever. But if you have, here we go. See, I'm just going to cut a whole bunch of them. I was cutting them one by one as I needed them, and then I realized that, like, I was going to need a bunch. So I was like, I should just cut up a whole row of them. So I did. And I know people who just, like, keep one edge of their foam strip, or foam square, like, paper, whatever, cut in half so that they can do this really easy. I prefer to cut them as I go, but, you know, whatever works for you. These foam squares are pretty small, too. They're not super tall either. They're pretty thin. Again, it was just a random sheet I found in my drawer, so I don't really know where they're from. But they work. They work. I'm just trying to use up some of my older adhesive stuff right now, like, get that drawer a little bit under control. So hopefully we're getting there, slowly but surely. We're getting there. So I'm just going to cut up a little bit more, but I highly recommend, basically, long story short, because I'm just rambling now, I highly recommend getting the foam strips for if you're going to use things like these. They're good for other things too, but they're really, really good for these giant greetings. Although I haven't seen Lawn Fawn make any more of these in a while, so maybe they're kind of done. But all right, now I've pulled off all the little back pieces of my foam squares, and I'm going to stick that down. I have one foam square on each of the little tittles for the eyes, and then we're going to put that down. And then pretty much at this point, it's all just gluing things together. And like I said, this video, not super technique heavy. I thought we were going to do a fun thing with the background stamps on the greetings, or on the, so I also debated doing this. I debated sending big happy birthday hugs, but I didn't like that. So I ended up changing it back to just birthday hugs. And I am thinking about this now too. The other thing I could have done is stamped that birthday in white and then used the other background stamp, the other snowfall snowfall background stamp that I was going to use on top of the purple stripes on that birthday, and it would have worked really well too, but I think I was just feeling lazy and didn't want to cut another one, honestly. So now I'm trying to figure out my little hats here. And I'm going to decide that just because of the angle they're at, only the fox gets a hat. So I decided that the story is it's the fox's birthday and the bunny just showed up at the party and they're just like giving each other a hug because the bunny just got there and they're celebrating. But anyway, that's it. That's today's card. Like I said, nothing too complicated or exciting. Just having some fun because sometimes you just gotta do that. Alright, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you again soon, and have a crafty day.